So hi guys, for my second or third video on the channel, I thought it would be nice to go over my opening repertoire, and we're gonna start out with my opening response to E4 as black. And before we get into it, I'd just like to mention or put in place the fact that I'm going to probably going to be exploring the entirety of my opening repertoire as time passes, and maybe some other openings too, or different even variations of openings. And I just wanted to also mention that obviously the first few videos I've made have been chess videos, but the other ones are coming. It's just that they take a little longer to script, the math, science, history, economics videos. So those are on the way. Don't worry about that. So, yeah, let's jump into my response to 1e4, and, I think it should be pretty interesting, because I've studied this opening a lot, and I've, tried to stick to single repertoire, and this is the only defense I play against e4 as black. I actually don't play e5, which is common for players of my level, but I play c5, which is probably even more common. It's the Sicilian Defense, and I mentioned this in my previous video about how I play the Sicilian, and you're going to be seeing a lot of that, and I was correct. Maybe we'll go over some videos on how to play against different variations of the Sicilian, specifically the Najdorf, which I alternate between bishop g5 and the English attack in. But for now, let's just take a look at my Sicilian. So, e4, c5, and there are a lot of responses. First, let's go over the open lines, and then we can maybe take a look at some closed Sicilians and some other lines. And here I play d6. I mean, knight c6. Knight c6 is a line. e6 is a line. I think even g6 is a line. Hyper accelerated dragon, I believe it's called. But d6, standard stuff. And after d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, all standard. And knight f6. I think this is basically the only move in this position. Knight f6, maybe g6 as well. So knight c3, and the most common move here is a6, which is the Najdorf variation. And I believe I play the second most common, which is the dragon. I play g6 here, and it's very sharp. Obviously, one of your main assets in this opening is going to be your strong dark squared bishop, which is clearly going to be fianchettoed, and in the future you're going to attack white's queenside. And I think that at least for this video, we're going to go over the most challenging variation that white can play, which is the Yugoslav attack. I mean, f4 is also a move here, but if you're simple and careful, even bishop g7 is fine. Knight c6 is okay as well. Sometimes even knight bd7. You can get a fine position as black against this. It's called the 11-fish attack. Sometimes called the 11-fish variation as well. So we're going to look at the Yugoslav attack, which technically doesn't start after bishop e3. When you see bishop e3, it's likely you're going to move into the Yugoslav attack. And I mentioned this in my previous video. I'm just going to mention it again. One very common blunder, which looks positionally good, is knight g4. And the mistake is that you're losing a piece in the game because of bishop e5 check. And however you block, you're losing a piece or a pawn in an exchange. For example, you block with knight c6, knight takes, take back, check, pawn in an exchange. And even if you just block with the bishop, it's pinned, takes, and this is defended. And if you block with the knight, you are you're going to be losing this knight. So instead of playing knight g4, you play the obvious move, bishop g7, and here the move is f3, because now knight g4 is a threat because of king f8. I think we're going to also go into the line I played against Evan in my last video, but so after f3, which prevents any knight g4 ideas, castles is the main move. Sometimes you see knight c6, but not really anymore. Oh, sorry, oopsie. So g7, f3, castles, and now queen d2. And the idea is simple. White's gonna do this and push all his pawns and just try and go for a checkmating attack, and he's going to castle queenside. Sometimes, actually, you see people go for similar setups in the Najdorf, in the English attack, and even in the Scheveningen variation. Most people go for the Curies attack then. But I think the English attack is very popular. But now you play knight c6, and the idea behind knight c6 is that you're controlling the e5 square, which is a common idea in the Sicilian, because if white's allowed e5, it can be very, very annoying for black. And the main move here is, well, here you're defending the e5 square, which allows you to push d5 and attack the center, which is a move you're always trying to play in the Sicilian. And the main move here for white is actually bishop c4, because it prevents this d5 idea. And here, you can play a couple things. You can play knight e5 or bishop d7. Those are the main moves. And the plan behind bishop d7, which is what I play, is rook c8 and bringing your knight here, forcing white to exchange his light square bishop if he doesn't want to lose his dark square bishop, which is essential to attacking black. Because if black has a dark square bishop and white doesn't, he'll black will simply be will have a better position just because of the sheer power of this bishop. So after bishop c4, bishop d7, and castling queenside is the main move, as is part of the plan. And we follow with rook c8, opening explorers on. And now black generally recognizes this plan and plays bishop b3, followed sometimes by after knight e5, which is part of our plan, sometimes followed by h4, but usually just king b1. And now we play this, takes, and we've got a game. In the future, white's going to play this, and after this, there's a possible pawn sacrifice idea, because after a move like this, maybe not immediately, but in the future, takes, and all, you don't want to capture back here, because all black's captures look amazing. So maybe just push, which is, I believe, the main move, and you're just putting a lot of pressure on black. And this is actually a thematic sacrifice. Maybe not quite yet, but black's better in this position, obviously, but as I said, the sacrifice isn't actually well put here. But you might sack your rook for this knight on h5 in order to maybe get forced checkmate in the future. But okay. So after queen d2 and knight c6, we're going to go into a different line, which we've already kind of gone over, but I think it's important, which is castles queenside immediately. And we continue with our plan. As I mentioned, this square is covered. We don't need to worry about e5. So we play d5. And takes is the obvious move. followed by knight takes. And here, getting this knight out of danger, but kind of unleashing this bishop, you play, white plays knight takes e6. And you've kind of inflicted a weakness on black's queen side. And, b captures on c6 is, you know, the obvious move, or the only move. And now, it looks like capturing this knight would be, appealing, but, bishop d4 is actually the main move here, because of the results of a line like this. Queen c6 equalizes immediately for black. And it looks like you've hung your rook, right? So, queen takes a rook, which is the most challenging move, and, or at least the computer favors it. But after bishop f5, this is, you can't defend this with the queen, you know, without taking with check. And then here. And obviously, just to demonstrate, if you play like a simple defending move, we just take your queen. So here, material kind of favors white, but the activity of black is very strong. Look at this bishop pair. Queen's pretty well placed, threatening mate already. And I like playing this position as black. Okay. And most people don't like playing that position as white. So, bishop d4. e5, because we don't want to exchange this bishop quite yet, even though that is a line. e5, bishop here, and there's a really tricky move. Or not, it's not even such a tricky move, it's just, the most common move that's kind of unexpected. Now it's probably easy to guess, but if you want to look for it in a second, for a second, I'll give you a second. Maybe just pause the video. But the move, if you've found it, is bishop e6. And it doesn't look right because, you know, you just lose the exchange, right? But this is just very strong for black in terms of activity. And this bishop's here. This knight's ideally placed. You know, you're about to unleash this dark squared bishop. You have the bishop pair. This rook's about to take an open file, and black's position is almost winning. So you don't take here. Most people just continue by attacking the knights. And at some point you will play rook e8. Sometimes a5 is played. But I think rook e8 immediately is the main line. I believe, at least. Just on. Oh! Yes, that is true. Queen h4 is the move. I almost forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah. So queen h4 attacks a bishop. You know, plays on the queen side, and then takes, and you enter this position. There's still a pretty well established body of theory on positions like this, I believe. However, you really only need to know up to this part to be very well equipped and well prepared for the positions that are about to come. So that's the open Sicilian, and that's what I play or recommend in the open Sicilian. But some other lines other than the dragon, which is very sharp, that I would recommend you look at, would be the Najdorf here. Oh my, why is the opening explorer on? The Najdorf here, which is of course a6, or the Scheveningen. I'm also a pretty big fan of, or at least I find the games in the Sveshnikov or the Lasker Pelican Sicilian to be very entertaining. as follows. But before we close out this video, I might post another one today regarding my response to D4, which, you know, if you watch the videos in a row, not too many people watching, obviously just started. But if you do watch them in a row, I'll give you a hint now. It's the Nimzo Indian. That's what I play against D4. I am thinking of trying out the King's Indian, but I have such a well-established repertoire in the Nimzo Indian that I think I'm going to stick with it. But there's some other moves here, and those are D4, Smith-Morra Gambit, and Knight C3. Sometimes Bishop C4, but we're barely going to discuss that. Let's just briefly take a look at it. I just play E6 immediately here, even though I play D6 generally. Simply because if you're quick enough, you're getting this E5 move in. Even if Knight to C3 is played, this bishop's going to be kicked. You're going to get to develop your pieces very quickly. So that's just a simple plan. You could go for just kind of an accelerated dragon type position with G6 immediately, but I just recommend playing the simple plan of playing E6 and attempting to push D5. So C5, let's look at this. And I did want to show a track that Eric Rosen actually made pretty public. That if you do play what I play against this, you should be aware of. There's a secret move here. Well, not secret, it's actually a pretty common move. After you play G6, a lot of people will play D4 in this position, even if they're Grand Prix or closed Sicilian players. If they do play D4, I don't play this line, but it's actually pretty common. After you play Bishop G7, you have a temporary pawn sacrifice. And then after either Queen A5 or Queen C7, you're attacking this pawn. It's pretty hard to defend. But White doesn't usually try. They'll play a move like this, and after takes, a lot of people will play Bishop D2, and I believe that there are some games like this, and if you make the mistake Knight F6, you'll automatically, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to show the arrow. I was going to have you guys guess, but I was just going to show the evaluation to demonstrate how good White is in this position. The threat of Bishop D2 is Bishop B4, and just playing a move like Knight F6, you get Bishop B4, and your queen's trapped. I mean, it's not kind of trapped, it's just trapped. After something like Queen C6, you get Bishop B5, and you can't play Queen E6 or Queen takes Bishop because of Knight C7, which wins the Queen by force. And you're just down a Queen for 2 pieces. So I believe actually though, after the Queen is trapped, the best move is, I forget, I'll show you. It's some line where you can get 2 pieces for the Queen. Yes, correct, you take the Knight here, because after, yeah, you take this Bishop, and you've got 2 pieces for the Queen. Almost forgot. So yeah, that's my main Sicilian repertoire for my defense against e4. I'm either going to show my e4 openings next video or my d4 defense. I'm going to figure that out. Probably part one of my e4 openings, but we'll see. So thanks for watching. I guess I'll see you guys later.